want to apologize because I know I haven't been doing. I just want to apologize for not doing the first thing, doing a scary thing last Monday. I'm probably gonna end up apologizing a lot and everything, repeating the same things over. Oh, I've just been tired and this. I'm probably gonna keep repeating myself, which I really am sorry. Also, I apologize. All I've been doing is playing games lately. I'm just not in the mood to sit there and laugh and everything. I just haven't been feeling like myself. But I hope you enjoy this video, and again, I apologize. And heat is so hot, and I'll try to make more videos of different things, but that's it, guys. I'll see you in the video. What's up, guys? So I apologize for last Monday. I didn't do one of these. I completely forgot I did these. So I really apologize. I really do. I completely forgot I did that. I was gonna do like a double one today, but I was like, I don't feel, because I feel like that's a lot of work. This is like the first video I've recorded, like not live streams. All I've been doing for the past probably like weeks or so is live stream, Spyro, just talking. So this actually be like one of my first videos, like the longest time. But this one's called A Creepy Christmas Time Story. Even though it's July, it's a Christmas one. So hope y'all enjoy.
It was November of 2006. I was a 16-year-old kid living in the town of Altoona, Iowa. I went to bed early one night because I had to work the early shift at McDonald's. As I slept, I had a dream that I was running through downtown Des Moines, but
I have some people who question my hair, like, why don't you get your hair cut? I did. And then, I cut it. My sister didn't cut it all the way off to, just shave it all off. She just cut it down to a little bit. So now my hair, when I cut it, it grows and it just hangs off. Like, it looks weird. Like, it just hangs and then it just gets long. That's what people who've been asking.
On a jog, I was running from something. As I ran around the corner of a building, I came face to face with my pursuer. A tall man wearing a trench coat and a top hat stood in front of me.
Ew, that's so creepy.
The only thing visible of his face was his eyes. They were abnormally large with black pupils, and it looked at me as if it wanted something. After what felt like hours, he reached out his bony hand, as if he wanted me to go with him.
Come here.
I woke up violently from my dream, and after catching my breath, I peered around my room to see if I was safe.
Look at his hair.
As I stood up from my bed, I noticed that I could see my breath. Feeling confused, I checked my window. It was latched shut. I then walked over and checked my vent. I could still feel warm air coming from it. As I sat back down on my bed, I tried to figure out what exactly was going on.
Is that a closet? Why you gotta, it's probably
That's when the figure from my dream appeared at the foot of my bed. I scrambled back to my headboard. What do you want? I asked, trying to hide the shakiness in my voice.
Get out my face.
With the same bony finger, it pointed at me.
Get out my face.
Growing up in a religious home, I believed what I was looking at was a demon. I told the creature to leave. It just waved its finger at me. With a low voice, it spoke to me. Never leave. Always here. The creature then screamed loudly and disappeared. A feeling of nausea came over me, and I vomited on my floor. The last thing I remember was cleaning myself up and waking up to my alarm. Appeared. A feeling of nausea came over me, and I vomited on my floor.
Look at that. It's black. If you vomit black...
The last thing I remember was cleaning myself up and waking up to my alarm. It's been about a month since I had seen the top hat-wearing man in my bedroom. The Christmas season was in full effect. My parents weren't home because they got invited to some kind of event. So it was only me and my three sisters at home. I had to wake up early in the morning for work, so I decided to go to sleep. I rested my head on my pillow and closed my eyes. Not even
He's
30
like, he
seconds
lays on the edge
passed
of the
until
pillow.
my
That's what I don't
sisters
lay on the
burst
pillow. I
into my
lay like
room
at the
and
edge.
started singing obnoxious songs. This, of course, made me very angry, but I thought if I ignored them that they would leave me alone. This was not the case. As I pulled the blankets over my head, I started to feel the same cold feeling that I had in November. As the obnoxious singing subsided, I lowered the blanket below my eyes and saw the man standing in the corner of my room. In one swift motion, he charged towards me, and I blacked out. When I finally came to, I found that my sisters had locked themselves inside the bathroom. As I knocked on the door, they told me to go away. I asked them what happened, and all they could say was Mom and Dad were on their way home. I looked down and saw that my hand was slightly bloody. Holes were in the bathroom door, and a broom was sticking out of the wall. I then walked into the living room and found that there were knives stuck into the wall as well. The same wave of nausea passed over me, just like in November, and I threw up again. As I was cleaning up, my parents walked through the door. My father immediately walked over to me and gave me a good beating. Then he sent me to my room. I went to bed crying, not from the beating. I was crying because of the confusion. I had no idea what was going on. The next morning, my sisters reluctantly sat next to me and told me what had happened. They said I got angry and chased them down and tried to hurt them. They said my eyes were red to the point where they thought I was bleeding from them. They said I sounded like a different person. In 2011, that was the last time I saw the top hat wearing man. I just moved into a new apartment, and after a long, stressful day of unpacking, I took a shower and got ready for bed. As I started to drift off, I could feel that cold feeling again. I lifted my head and saw the man standing in front of me. The man's eyes were red now. With a low voice, just like on that November night, it looked at me and said, "Never leave, always here."
You get knocked out? Like, that wasn't that scary, but so apparently I guess like the guy like like got to him, whatever, apparently or something, probably like got to this guy, and then the guy this killer became like evil, or maybe it was like a whole spirit. I don't know. All I know is that guy's creepy. He's lonely. That top hat guy, he lonely. He just want a girlfriend is all. That's all. He just want a girlfriend. He lonely. He just needs some love. That's what he want. He just wants some cuddles. But that's it for you guys. For that video. And yeah, top hat man, he just lonely. Alright guys, so this one's called Scary True Pool Horror Stories. I don't know. That's what it says. I can't see it. Can I zoom in? Boom, there you go. See that? Did nothing. But yeah, apparently I guess it's about some pool. Apparently it has pool in it. So let's just get started. I apologize guys. I'm only running on like a few hours sleep, so I'm tired. I'm sorry if I show like no emotion.
It was approaching the end of summer, and my friends and I wanted to do some cool, mischievous things before going back to school. So, we had the genius idea one night to sneak into a nearby community pool. It was actually only a couple blocks away. It's right smack in the middle of a residential area. So instead of sitting on a main road or something, it actually just sat around a bunch of houses on a quiet road. During a hot day, the little parking lot would be full and the spot would be bustling. But at 1 in the morning, the place was of course dead. There's obviously a big fence surrounding the whole...
Back real quick, hang on.
On a hot day, the little parking lot would be full.
Look at this. Hold up. Look at this person right there. You see it? Look at that person over there. they look at their face. To me, they look like they on some drugs or they like seeing a ghost. You see them? You see them over there? They look so like they seen some ghost or some shit. You seen that shit? Anyway, let's go.
The spot would be bustling. But at 1 in the morning, the place was of course dead.
Like, so scared. Like,
There's obviously a big fence surrounding the whole front entrance, as well as a cage that gets closed up when the place closes. So our best way was to get in through the side. We snuck into the backyard of a neighboring house and hopped the fence over to the pool. It was as easy as that.
4 hours.
The 4 of us took off our shirts and jumped into the pool, which in retrospect wasn't smart, since any of the neighbors could have heard the splashes and just called the police. But we were dumb high schoolers. It was very, very dark within that whole enclosing. This pool had no lights, which is why it closed at sunset.
Pants, bro.
James, Courtney, and Alyssa were on the other side of the pool, as I was just kind of doing my own thing at first, swimming around and getting my face wet. I saw Alyssa get out of the pool shortly after and run away. I swam over to see what was going on. She was just going to the water fountain, though. The 3 of us just bopped around in the water for a bit, and eventually we heard Alyssa jump back into the pool from the other side. It was too dark to see much more than her black hair covering her face. But just then we heard Alyssa playfully call something to us as she was walking back to the pool. The 3 of us in the pool looked at each other. I know they were doing the same thing as me, counting heads. There were 3 of us on this side of the pool, and here came Alyssa walking over to our side. So who was that on the other side? Alyssa got in, but the 3 of us were distracted, looking at the head bopping around the water across the pool.
That's creepy.
James said across the pool, "Who is that?" Not even 2 seconds later, the head went underwater and disappeared from view.
Yo, I'll be out.
We took this time to whisper to each other, mostly things like, what should we do? What if that's security? And should we run? Suddenly I felt something grab my leg with force and tried pulling me down into the water. I kicked, splashed, and yelled for help. James came over to pull me out of the pool, while the girls were already running for it, screaming. It wasn't until I got to the stairs of the pool that the grip on my leg was released and I was free. We hopped the same fence we climbed over to get in and ran all the way back to Alyssa's house. I was convinced that whoever that was a security guard. That is, until they literally tried to pull me under the water.
That is not a scare. No security guard's gonna grab you and pull you.
We don't know what to think. There are a few possibilities. Maybe it was just another kid messing with us. Maybe it was a security guard who went way too far. Or, most likely, it was a dangerous person who had ill intent.
Ew, you freaking creep. That's so creepy. Bro, that's why you don't go to the pool at night. That's why. If you want to go swimming that bad, just go in your tub. Go sit in a tub full of water. Or buy a pool. You know, you don't gotta go freaking like 4 million miles away or wherever the freaking there's a pool. Just go swimming. Just buy a pool. Or go in your bathtub. Roll around in your bathtub. Like, come on. Or buy a sprinkler. You know, go chill around on a sprinkler. You know? Or stand in the shower if you want to get wet. No, don't go swimming at night. You have no reason to. If you have all day to go swimming. If you choose to go swimming at night. Anyway, next story. Guys, alright, last one. So this one's called Scary Field Trip Horror Stories. Now, I know there's no schools, you know, and schooling a thing now, apparently. But, I don't know when, I think he just posted it like a year ago. These are old videos. Llama Arts hasn't posted a video, I think like in a week? Maybe? I don't know. I don't remember. Actually, it's been a while. Let's just jump right into this. And I'm at animation, not... So I guess it's a story. Or not.
Back in high school, I took a mysteries and mythology type class, or something like that. I don't remember the name of the class. It basically just had to do with real-life mysteries and creepy shit. I was into that kind of stuff. I was taking the class with a good friend, who I'll call Ben for this story.
He died.
The teacher of the class took us on a field trip to a nearby abandoned village with an unknown past. The village was built in the early 1900s, but seems as though it had been quickly abandoned shortly after it was built. The bus ride there was about 20 minutes. All of us were glued to the bus windows as we pulled up some sketchy-looking, decrepit road cutting through dense forest. The road eventually led to a clearing. We were there. We stepped out onto the road, which had grass growing through the cracks. The grass surrounding was almost knee-high. Then there were the buildings. The tall, archaic brick buildings with the boarded-up windows all gave off such chilling vibes.
That's creepy.
The teacher lined all 20 of us up, counted heads, and then began leading the way.
Bro,
the point of this little field trip was to use the so-called skills that we learned in class to see if we could put anything together about why the village may have been abandoned so long ago. Some of the buildings had holes in the walls to serve as entryways. There were even holes in the ground next to some of the buildings, seemingly dug to get into the basements of some of the buildings, which seemed creepy. There was one building, though. It stood taller than any of the others. It just intrigued me the most. While the teacher was leading the group towards the village church, Ben and I decided to sneak off on our own to look for anything interesting. When we walked off in the direction of the tallest building, we saw a hole in the ground. It was dug by the back door of the building, which had been sealed off. In the hole was a ladder which led down to the concrete floor below. We both looked at each other and knew we had to do it. Ben climbed down first, then me. Luckily, this was just around the time Apple started putting flashlights on their phones, so we had a source of light. It was creepy down there. There were a couple of beer bottles, one graffiti tag on the wall, and dusty wooden planks everywhere. There was a wooden stairway which led up to complete darkness, since all windows and doors had been sealed shut from above. We had already gone as far as to enter the building, so we figured we'd go up the stairs too. I went first. With each step, the creakiness of the 100-year-old wood made me feel as if I was going to fall through each and every step. Ben followed suit. This floor of the building was very tight. It seemed like there were many openings going off into different, smaller rooms. It was so dark in there, you would never even guess it was daytime. Ben and I were honestly starting to get creeped out in there, and agreed to go back outside. But just then, there was a noise in one of the tiny rooms, like a big rock hitting the concrete floor. A normal instinct would be to run, but Ben and I froze, locked eyes for a moment, then both tiptoed over to the opening of the room. We shined the lights into the room, and ran. We ran back down the stairs and then up the rusty ladder back outside. We caught up to the group out of breath. We didn't say anything, though, to avoid getting in trouble. One of our classmates asked us what was wrong. We told him we snuck into one of the buildings. And in one of the rooms, when we shined the light into it, we saw 3 guys standing maybe 10 feet away from the doorway, facing Ben and I in a weird formation, as if they were waiting for us. As we continued following the group, we paid extra attention to the tall building we entered from the distance. And before leaving, we saw a person's face at one of the higher level windows that had not been boarded up. We never told the teacher in fear of getting in trouble. We didn't know what to think. Were those just homeless people living in there? Were they gang members in hiding? Ben freaks me out with his theory. He says they were ghosts of the people who once lived in the town. Still, the way the 3 guys were just hauntingly standing there so calmly, staring at us the moment we peeked our heads through that doorway, I still can't get that image out of my head. I may go back to that village one day, just to prove Ben's idea wrong.
You're an idiot, man. And he does, too. Big brains. Anson, you ever seen him? Big brain kids right there, big brain. Kids, 400 IQ right there. Gang members. This is not gang members. Why would there be? That's like the middle of nowhere, just about. Why are there gonna be gang members in the middle of nowhere? What are you gonna do? Like, they're not gonna. There's nothing you can do. Just three guys in like an abandoned area. What are you gonna do? I don't know. Maybe the kid is there. Maybe there's like ghosts of people who live there. There it is. There looks like almost like a whole like village or there. Maybe like the arrests were left and it's the three left. I don't know. But that's it for guys. So if you like the video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button. You know, this is not as scary as I thought they would be. They look pretty scary, but they're not. But God bless you all. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video.